Hey, this is David Ramsey from Arrow, and you're listening to Tomorrow's Legends with Martin, the Flash, Harley Quinn, and X-Force 11. Oliver, don't.
You think you know the story. You've heard it 100 times. But this is not the tale that you know, for this part of the story has yet to be written. Join Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11 as they take the Wave Rider into the near future and check in on some old friends. This is the new adventures of Superman and Lois, as chronicled by Tomorrow's Legends.
Yes, hello, Super Fan of Steel. It's a race to save a villain. All eyes are looking for Peia as she loses control of her powers after the apparent cure isn't really working, and it's a race to get to her before she destroys the city. This is Season 3, Episode 11, Complications, which I would say is a bit of an understatement for the title of this one. I am wearing earplugs, I am the Flash, and I'm out there trying to help Peia.
And I'm Harley Quinn.
And my ears are still ringing, but I'm happy to be here. X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
Hello, Gideon. Yes, we are part of the Cybercast Network, which is a bunch of shows covering some of your favorite topics. Of course, you're listening to Tomorrow's Legends, as we just said. We're currently covering Superman and Lois, and then we also have Dive into DC with Silver Vox and Green Butterfly. They bring you news and the facts and history of everything DC, and they're very fun over there. They're really developing the show into a fun, lighthearted, full of information stuff. So check those guys out. We're proud to have them with us. We also have the Mandalore podcast, which covers Star Wars on Disney Plus. That's with Cyber Ren and Dee Vizsla. And then there's also Cybercast, which is coming up with a new episode, new review. I just watched Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, so I'll be doing a movie review there.
Nice.
Yeah, I owe a couple movie reviews. I think I'm behind on those, but we'll be getting to those. And that is the network. So check us all out. We're slowly building our little repertoire here. And if you're so lucky, if you're watching video tonight, Cyber, who what everything is named after, was here, but he just jumped down. So you get to see his happy face.
Yeah, he'll come back.
And that is it for the network. Let's get into some news.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
Take her away, X-Force.
Well, Comic Book Resources, or CBR.com, is reporting that Superman and Lois's viewership is growing despite cancellation fears. Just what we've seen over the past couple weeks. Every episode tends to be growing. There's very positive buzz. I'm seeing a lot of great interactions on Twitter with fans talking about the actors' performances and how good this season is. Really wanting a fourth season, whether it's on the CW or Max or whatever. So, you know, I'm really hopeful that we'll get some type of news. I don't know if it will come before the end of the season at this point, but we'll see. But I'm just happy to see other people are checking out the show.
Yeah, and I wonder what are the reasons are. Is it because Superman is the only one left now? Is it because, the Flash just canceled and everyone's like, oh yeah, Superman? Or is it because the writing is so good and this season is really amping up that people are, word is spreading and people are starting to tune in more? There's maybe a little bit of everything.
Yeah, probably a little bit of everything. So
cool.
Yeah. So there is no new show next week. There's a repeat of The Dress, and then we will be back on the 20th and the 27th for the final 2 episodes of the season. So
damn, we're down to the finale already, eh?
Yeah, we've got the penultimate and the finale.
Jeez.
So yeah,
that seemed to go fast this season. I don't know why.
Well, it's just it's spread out. I mean, we've been recording on it, but they've had breaks in it. So you know,
yeah.
I guess it is June.
Yeah, I mean, the breaks haven't been too crazy.
No.
Not like years past with other shows where it take like 2-month break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and with that, we're gonna have to decide what are we gonna do over the summer and stuff in the fall, because we don't know. I mean, we don't know if Superman's coming back yet, and if it
Yeah.
is, when is it coming back? But man, there's really nothing on the slate, so we gotta figure something out.
Yeah, and the thing too is right now we're still in the midst of the writer's strike. So
Yep.
there's
There's
you know
nothing coming out.
even if the writer's strike finishes up tomorrow, then everything's got to move into pre-production and da 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 da. I don't see anything major coming out until maybe after Christmas because of this delays, because they usually start filming, towards the end of summer.
Yeah, which means
And
the writers are already writing, and right now they're on strike.
yeah, because like Superman and Lois, they were done filming before the season even started. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I sure hope that the writer's strike doesn't affect, like, if we get a season 4, I hope it doesn't affect the quality of the writing, because it is on par this season.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, hopefully with this one it shouldn't if it's able to continue. It's,
Yeah.
I feel like where in years past it's hurt shows is because the writer's strike occurred mid-season.
Hmm.
And I think especially for this show, I mean, it's been done and in the can for over a year. So, um I don't think you have to, or maybe not quite a year, but anyway, like it's
Yeah.
been done for a while. So I I think the only thing that it would do, just if it's coming back, it would just delay its when it can start film and then when it can actually come out.
Yeah.
Would be my guess
Mhm.
or hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing too is if it does get moved over to Max, we're what they've done is they generally, for some of the series, they're just running all of them consecutive. And for some of them, they'll do a half season and then they'll have a break for a couple months and then they'll have the rest of the season like they did with Titans and Doom Patrol and things like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have like a hiatus here, a hiatus here. We'll have like a chunk of episodes and then a break, and then a little later in the year, a chunk of episodes. So, I could see like a spring chunk and then maybe a summer chunk or a fall chunk next year, but we'll see. It all depends on if it moves over there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, because that, I mean, even just the move could cause a delay in a lot of stuff too.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
I not as much as some, I think, because I don't think they're gonna uproot where they film, and I don't think they're gonna. Well, I don't know. There's some talk that season 4 would move them to back to Metropolis. So
They need a
there's
cityscape.
there's some talk about moving it to Metropolis. I mean, you think they've spent a good chunk in Metropolis this year with the cancer storyline now,
Mhm.
but so I don't know.
Well, time will tell. That's all we can say. We'll let you know when we know. Yeah. Well, the last thing we just want to remind people of, there's a new way to get feedback into us, and that's through our new SpeakPipe service. You can send in your voice message to www.speakpipe.com/tomorrowslegends. You can record directly there, and it will send the message to us. And then if you are watching us, we are on our new YouTube channel. We'll say hello again. Hi.
Hello.
So we're in episode 253 now, I believe, of Tomorrow's Legends. So
Mhm.
those new people, if you guys are just discovering us here on YouTube for the first time, we've done 252 episodes of the show, of this podcast. So definitely go check out the podcast if you want all of our older content covering Legends of Tomorrow and, The Flash and Stargirl and Superman and Lois. So there's a lot there, plus a few bonus things here and there. If you are just discovering us here, then yeah, definitely check out the show. We've been around for a while. We're working on our 8th year now. So there's lots of back catalog, as they call it.
Yep.
Maybe you're just discovering Legends of Tomorrow and you're trying to catch up and then you want to hear our breakdown of the episodes. So great. We would love to have you on there.
Yep.
For sure. Let's get into our impressions and ratings of the show.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice,
All right. I gave this one 8.5 screams to awaken the dead.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed this episode. Getting to see Pia's powers unchecked was amazing. And I'm glad that we got to see both Sarah and Jordan's mental health addressed. We dealt with that a little bit in season 1, and we're kind of seeing that continued, so it's not swept under the rug. So I was happy about that. Plus, it was great to get more depth into Kyle's character and his past. So I think this was just a really solid episode for me, and I really appreciated the story it gave us.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I gave this one 9 bizarro twists and turns. I'm right there with you. I think this was a great episode. It was full of a lot of twists and turns that I was not necessarily expecting. So kudos to the writers. I also think this was a great way to end the Mannheim arc and set up the Bizarro Lex arcs, or so I'm assuming. I think at least one of those should carry us into next season if we get one. So I thought this was all around really great episode. One of the better ones this season for me, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with both you guys. I mean, to wrap up Bruno, because we've been going back and forth. Like, is Bruno going to transition into the Lex storyline? Are they going to team up and fight Lex? Or is Bruno going to join Lex? Like, we had no idea which way it was going to go, but it looks like they are wrapping up the Bruno storyline, tying that one up with a nice, pretty bow, putting him in prison, and that's it. That's the end of the storyline. Let's move on to the next one, and maybe we will just get 2 episodes of Bizarro. Maybe that's our finale. Our 2-part finale is Bizarro dealing with Bizarro again, and then Lex comes into the picture. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to sort of think about what the combo is going to be, because we've only got a couple episodes left. So
I think it's going to be a little bit of each. I think it may be the other way around. We're going to get Lex, and then we're going to get teasers of Bizarro, and that's something that they could pick up next season. So we'll see like little bits of him at the end of every episode for the next 2, like we did at this one, and then that would carry into next season. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
Well, I'm up there with you guys. I'm giving it a 9 cries of no, not Peia. You guys heard me last week. I'm in love with Peia. I'm just not very happy tonight as we have to bid farewell to what I think is the best villain the show has had so far in Peia. I couldn't help but feel her pain this episode as everything was falling apart as she struggled to contain herself, no matter the pain it caused her, just to save her family and to not hurt anybody else. The season has really found its stride, and the writing just keeps getting better and better. So I sure hope that this is the glimmer into what's coming with Lex and into our fingers crossed season 4. Because what they did with the Bruno story and the Peia, like it, because we kind of thought this was going to be a Bruno season, and I think once Peia got introduced, it really kind of transitioned to her taking the lead as on the villain side of things. Bruno was kind of her supporting cast, and I mean, why not? Because Daya is just absolutely amazing. I've started following her on social media now, and she's very, very cool and very proud of her character. If you go follow her Instagram over the last few weeks, she's just been talking nothing but positive things about Superman and Lois and the crew and the cast and what they've done for her career, and how grateful she is to have gotten to take this character to the depths and the levels that she did. It's just really, really cool. So I am just really over the moon, a fan of hers now, and I really will miss this Peia character. This was a very hard and tragic and emotional ending for a villain, which is so surprising. To feel this much about a bad guy is crazy to me. I don't think I've ever felt like this for a villain, and that tells you the writing, how strong it was for her.
Yeah, the performance too. It'll come up in our notes a few times.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to those notes.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
We could do that, or we could, do this. I need to rearrange them on my soundboard because I have the gathered together right after the meanwhile at the Hall of Justice, so they're kind of I got to move it around so it's not the first one I see.
Yeah.
Old habits die hard.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move it right now while you guys start the notes. How's that?
Okay. So let's start with the Cushings and Chrissy this week. And we get to see Kyle getting the breakdown from Clark about Superman. And you see Chrissy is just thrilled to be able to finally talk with him about it. And he is very happy to know about Clark, but he is very upset at Chrissy for lying to him. So it's a kind of a mixed bag for him right there.
But they
Yeah.
gave me what I wanted. Remember last week I was saying I really want to see Kyle be, because I said he could either be really upset that they kept this from, or he could be, oh my God, Clark, like what, really, you? And just be all buddy want to know. And that's exactly what we got, because he's like, can you do this? Is that your super? Wow, you're Superman. Like he was just excited. Like this guy that I thought was a nerd in high school is Superman, and he's just thrilled about it. And I'm so glad that that's the reaction we got from him.
Yeah. And predictably, he's super pissed off that everyone lied to him and made him feel like an idiot. I kind of don't blame him there. I think that he should be mad. I'm glad they didn't let like showing him as like starstruck with the whole thing with finding out who Superman is and then like forgetting everything. Like, you know what I mean? Just like for like immediately forgetting that he was mad that people are lying to him and all of that. So I liked the way they kind of like worked that together.
Yeah. And I'm with you. He has every reason and every right to be pissed off.
Yeah.
For sure. Because he felt like an idiot. And he, like, they made him look like an idiot for stumbling around like he was. And I mean, I'd be upset too, for sure.
Yeah. So we follow up with Sarah after last week, and basically she is just having a rough time. She can't sleep. She's having a breakdown. She's feeling the weight of all the consequences of her actions hitting her. And you see Lana pushing for her to go to the doctor and seeing that that's not really having the effect that she wants. And so she kind of pulls in Kyle to kind of help break through to her.
Yeah, so I was really feeling for Sarah this episode for sure, but what I'm really glad about is that this show didn't really gloss over what she did or kind of like sweep it under the rug. I mean, she made some really dumb, sadly typical teenage decisions, and they had some really big consequences. And so I think it's smart for the show to actually showcase that because it's a good life lesson for younger viewers to learn from. Because I'm sure there's a bit of a younger audience, and it's like, hey, just be careful what you're doing. There are big life-changing consequences for certain actions, even if you're not thinking about it in the moment because you're kids, but it's like you still gotta be careful.
Yeah, and I also like that they aren't forgetting her backstory that she attempted suicide, because obviously she has some trouble emotionally or mentally that she struggles with, like whether it's containing her feelings or she struggles with depression is what I'm trying to say. And
Yeah.
for these things to happen, like getting in a car accident, getting a DUI, not being able to drive, being in trouble, having this fallout with Jordan now, like all these things are hugely emotional impacts on a teenage mind, let alone a teenage mind that is struggling with depression. So this is very easily something that could send her off on a slide downhill again. And that's what we see Lana is worried about, and rightfully so. So I love that they brought that back, and they're showing us that, hey, like you're not always going to get through or get over, no matter what kind of counseling or psychiatry you go to, it's always going to be there. And certain things might trigger those feelings again. And, she needs some help. She needs to, she can't do this by herself. And I love where we're going to get into with the rest of the conversation here. It was good. It was good for Sarah's story to take that and connect everything what we've known about her story so far. And really just like, hey, you know what? Depression is a real thing for teenagers. A lot of them struggle with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's talking about giving you the tools to help you get through life, because
Mhm.
we hear Kyle talk about his growing up and how he dealt with sadness and those feelings, and that led him into the drinking and making, big mistakes and things like that. So it seems like, some of that may be hereditary, passed on, but it was good getting him reaching out to her in a way he probably couldn't have a couple years ago when she was going through it, and maybe giving her some tools and things to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I thought this was a great touch. I was actually not expecting this type of a speech from Kyle, but I definitely think it's what Sarah needed to hear. So I'm glad they took that route with it instead of kind of like the more typical stuff that, maybe parents would say to their children, maybe parents that don't, suffer with these kind of issues. And so I think it was smart to have one of her parents be able to relate. I liked that.
And I think I want to throw in there though, like we may be a little bit surprised that this kind of speech comes from Kyle, but maybe we shouldn't be, because if you look over the last 3 seasons, anytime something serious has come down with their kids, Lana has turned to Kyle and say, "Can you talk to them?" Because she tries and she doesn't seem to get through to them in a way that he can, and she has gone to him quite a few times and like, you help this out, and he's always been able to pull them aside and just give them grounded, real life advice from his experience. And this is probably like the third or fourth time that we've seen that from him in
Yeah.
moments like this. And it lets us remember that Kyle just isn't a drinker or someone who cheated on his wife, or like there is a real strong person there who has made mistakes, and he's learned from those mistakes, and he's got that experience to pass on. And I think that's
Right.
really good for his character.
Yeah. And I like that even in the midst of telling us this story and giving us more background, we don't get the full story, because we don't know what this big thing that he failed in, because Lana immediately says it's not about the marriage, it's not about the cheating, it's about something else. And he, talks about it, but he doesn't go into detail. So I like the fact that they're giving us information about him, but not like giving us his whole story. So that it's like,
Yeah.
we've got more to explore with him later on. So
It
I
was
like that.
something to do with drinking though, because he did say he
Hmm.
he whatever it was caused him to turn to drinking to make himself feel better about it, and then the
Right. And
drinking got out of hand.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so. But I appreciated this scene because you see that she is really scared, and it's great her parents are there to support her. And this was my favorite scene, and we'll get into it when we get down there, but it was because of the acting
Mm.
between Sarah and and Indy and Kyle there. And just it was so good, because she's in the midst of stuff, but she is in a place where she can see that she needs help, and she's got some clarity there. So it was just a great scene all around, and we'll get into more later, but it was just great between them.
Yeah, for sure. We'll hear it later and can talk about it more.
So they Kyle talks her into taking a job at the diner to give her something else to think about and to do. And we'll see how this plays out, but it was really touching after that, where Lana thanks Kyle, and she says he needs to take his own advice, and he realizes that he needs to go apologize to Chrissy, and then they make up pretty quickly.
Very quickly. I think the
Mm.
makeup was maybe a little too fast for me. I think he should have like stood his ground just a little bit more.
Hmm.
I mean, everybody he loves did lie to him, even if it was for a good reason. And so I feel like should have been maybe just a little bit more to explore there. Like, I don't think he should have held a grudge
Right.
at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
I don't think they should have broken up over it or anything like that. But I feel like he caved too fast and that he took on the blame too fast. And I don't think he was as much to blame. Like it felt kind of like victim shaming to me, and it didn't really sit well with me. I thought it was a little too fast.
Yeah, I know we get time passing in this episode without us really realizing it.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same day. She's wearing a different outfit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, you see Lois at home, and
True.
Clark has brought her home, and that's like, she doesn't go in for major surgery like that and just come home the same day.
No,
So
which
we-
also
right.
felt fast. So I'm glad you're talking through this.
Yeah, because
it's helping me.
The second watch, it really hit me. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no way that they sent her home the same day and then follow up by like, okay, Chrissy's wearing a different outfit than when we saw
Okay.
her at the beginning of the episode. So
There's some
there's
recovery
been
time. Yeah.
there's been
Okay.
some time there. But yeah, we don't, like, unless you really dig into that, you're not going to notice. And I agree. Maybe it could have gone on for another episode or two of him kind of dealing with it or things like that. So, but I think it was a little bit fast too. So
I think the discomfort comes from Chrissy she was in the wrong by lying to him, even though she had no choice. I'll defend her there, but she could have apologized to him too. Like he comes back and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I overreacted." She could have said, "Well, I'm sorry for lying to you," but she didn't. She just like, "Yeah, well, you should have." Like she kind of gave him attitude, like, "Yeah, you're totally wrong," and that's what bugged me about her. So I'm okay with him going to apologize
Yeah.
because when you sometimes you need to just get over the problem right away and don't let it drag out, don't let it fester. So I like that he came back right away, but she should have met him halfway and said, "Yeah, like I'm really sorry, I lied to you."
yeah,
Yeah. I think that's the part that bugged me.
yeah.
Chrissy's a little bit. She's hit and miss sometimes, that character. But I wanted to
That's her character too. I mean, I think that's part of her character and her age.
Yeah.
I mean, she's younger than Kyle too. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
I guess, but something I love that because we know Lana and Kyle, they're on uncomfortable ground with each other right now, and I love that when she shows up at his apartment and says, "Hey, I need you. I need your help." And he's like, "Whatever. I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here," kind of thing. And she says, "No, this is serious. Sarah is having a problem." And he snaps at her right away, drops all of his problems, drops the issues, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, our daughter's in trouble. Okay, teamwork, you and me. Let's go fix this." And I just love that they can put their crap aside to solve the problem together that they need to do. And I love that about their relationship, or at least at what Kyle can do, because he does do that often, even though they both have their own emotional reactions to a lot of things. As soon as it involves their kids, boom, they put that stuff aside. And I love it. The diner thing, I think, was kind of cool. I think that because that's part of Kyle's speech. He's like, you need to feel a sense of purpose. You right now, you're wallowing, you're burying yourself in all this stuff. You need to feel like you have something to do, something of value, something that makes you feel good. So get this job. And Sarah's like, "Come on, really? Like a waitress?" He's like, "Hey, you got to start somewhere."
Yeah.
And it's true. Like as a waitress, you're dealing with people, so you're forcing yourself into a situation where you have to be happy, you have to be polite, and you have to give good customer service. And those kind of things can just help your own psyche feel better when you have to be friendly to other people. It just helps you. So it's like super good advice on Kyle to like do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then she's not stuck at home, like wallowing in her own thoughts. She
Right.
needed
Exactly.
something. And I agree. I think something with the customer service facing where she kind of has to put on like a good face might actually help her more, because she might be faking it at first, but eventually it does kind of end up helping. You know what I mean? It just kind of helps everybody.
You're acting your way into feeling.
Yeah.
You're putting that way and then starting to move that way. So
I mean, heck, and if Jordan comes in, oh, she's working there, I'm gonna go. She can just throw a milkshake in his face. Get at it. Right.
Oh goodness. I've got some thoughts on those two later.
All right.
All right. So let's talk about the Kents. So This is Lois's surgery day, and well, it's the day before, and we see the prep and some pretty high-tech stuff going on there with the prep, but we have a extended family gathering with the Cushings, the Irons, the Kents having a party to celebrate Lois, and the adults are having a good time, and it's exactly what Lois needed the night before.
Yep.
I agree. I thought this was a lighter touch to an otherwise very heavy, kind of dark episode with all the other storylines. So this part of it actually felt kind of uplifting and happy compared to everything else that was going on. So I'm glad they added that in the beginning to sort of like, I don't know, make you feel good before they drop out the bottom.
Well, it helped her helped her out a lot because she was
Yeah.
really struggling with it, and to be surrounded by friends and family just gave her the confidence to, yes, I can go through this, and it was good.
Yeah. And then we have the kids in the other room, and Nat is upset that she can't even talk to Matteo and get some closure there. And this really pushes Sarah to go talk with Jordan, who's sulking out on the front porch. And Jordan and Sarah are just at an impasse. I mean, they're not seeing eye to eye. They're not coming to any type of agreement. And that kind of helps the spiral that we see Sarah in, go further down. So.
Yeah, I do think they need to avoid each other for a little while. I mean, until either Jordan can kind of set his feelings aside or push them down or bury them or whatever it is he needs to do, or Sarah needs to make it very clear she doesn't have like any romantic feelings for him anymore, because I do feel like they've not had like that part of the conversation. They keep saying, "Oh, I want to be friends. I want to be friends," but I feel like she always says, "But I still care about you," and stuff like that. Or and I don't know, maybe they haven't just showed that conversation, but I think either they need to just avoid each other until he can kind of move past it, or she needs to make it very clear that they're friends and nothing more.
Yeah.
Time apart. That fixes everything. If they want to be friends 5 months from now, sure, but you can't be madly in love with someone, your first love, break up, and then be seeing them every day and hanging out with them and doing that. It never works. Your heart cannot heal. You cannot get over it. And in people like Jordan's case, the type of personality that he has, he latches on and he really struggles with letting go and getting over that. He needs to have her gone from his life for a while so he can friggin' get past it.
That's
Simple
what I
as
think
that.
too.
Yeah. I honestly think that, she is the more mature person here in this. And guys develop later, especially emotionally and things like that. And I think she is stable enough in her thinking to realize that she can say, yeah, I still care about him and I could see being with him, but he's got to mature. But she hasn't like put that into words, and like it's like she's got to say, listen, let's spend some time apart, let's do that, and then let's reevaluate later. And he's got to grow and mature. So I think it's one of those things where they've got to step apart, and then later down the road, when he is more mature, he's grown, then they can come back together. But it's just hard for her because she's, they've got so many similarities and things like that. It's hard for her to push away somebody who she's got as a friend. So yeah, it's rough. So
I want to throw in a point here about Natalie and Matteo, because at this point in the episode, we didn't know that Matteo was kind of still a good guy and a good kid and still cared about her and was just trying to save his mom. We didn't know that things were going to turn around the way the episode ended. So at this point, Nat was driving me crazy. Like, your kid or your boyfriend just broke many, many laws, caused or helped get a lot of people hurt by breaking his mom out of prison, and he moved on. Like, that's not someone you should be involved with. That's not someone you should be crying, oh, I miss him. Yeah. Get over it. He's a bad guy. He just hurt a lot of people. What are you being a sappy baby about it for? Like, oh my God, move on. This is like, she was just bugging me, her performance, or not her performance, but the way she was acting in the scene. It's like, really? Over a guy that just hurt 50 plus people? Come on. Like what kind of person is that to you? Like you're going to be in love with somebody that does that willingly? Like, come on. She drove me nuts in that scene. But then by the end of the episode, I was like, okay. Mateo's a good guy.
So the next day in the hospital, Jordan has a panic attack when all the people are in the room and everything's hitting that, today is the day for this surgery. And in the midst of this panic attack, his x-ray vision comes in. And this was a really cool scene to see Clark step back and let John talk Jordan through this and use that brotherly bond, because obviously Clark knows what it is to have that x-ray vision come in and how disoriented, and he could talk him through the logistics, but he realized that that's not what the key issue is. It was about the panic attack, and it was just really cool to see John talk him through it and calm him down.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good scene. And I liked the way that they mirrored it back to the season 1 flashbacks when we got to see Jordan as a little boy and it was Lois who calmed him down. So I kind of liked getting to see this different version of it with John able to calm him down. It sounds like it's not the first time it's happened. And so I liked kind of the mirroring of that and then John being able to step in. So
Yeah.
Well, and it was cool for the brothers because we all know that a lot of times siblings do not have this close of a bond. They do not look out for each other. They do not protect each other like that. I really like that they're showing this story that sometimes they may be at odds with each other about certain things, but when this kind of stuff happens, they're there for each other. And yeah, Jordan is Superboy with powers, but guess what? He also struggled with a lot with these panic attacks when he was a kid. We don't know the full reasons why yet, but he was having trouble. And John was there the whole time to understand and to learn what his brother needs. And it was cool because we haven't seen it since season 1. And something triggered it. Something set it off. And he got worried and panicked again. And it takes John to go through the steps to help him breathe, to help him calm down. It was cool. It was a really, really cool thing to see for two brothers just have each other. Because we talked for the last 3 seasons. Will they ever be at odds with each other? One has powers, one doesn't. Is one gonna go dark and one isn't? And I think these type of scenes keep showing us that they probably never will turn on each other.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah. I agree.
So Pia's breakdown is interfering with Lois's surgery, and Clark wants to reschedule, but Lois kind of helps him see that she psyched herself up to get here and she wants to go through it. And, she really pulls him in and says, can you work through this? And I really appreciate that. I appreciate that she sees him as a vital part of the process. Yes, the surgery is hers, but they're a team going through it, and I appreciate that she wants him on board with it as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it is something that they've gone through together, and she's done this a couple times where she said, we've gone through this. When he's trying to compliment her, she's like, no, we did it together. So this just ties into what we've always been saying about these two, or how strong a couple they are, and that this is what relationships really should be like if we were also lucky, right?
It's a lot of work, and it's a big thing to go through, and stuff like this definitely tests relationships for sure. So it's a good example to say.
So in the midst of all this, Lois's surgery is pretty touch and go because of all the tremors and everything else. And Jordan's X-ray vision helps him see, a catastrophe about to happen with this huge vat of oxygen or whatever it was about to fall down, and he is able to go in and right it and basically save her from being blasted by this oxygen or whatever it was in that big tank.
Well, and all the doctors too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say these scenes made me very, very, very anxious. I'm like, okay, no one should be having a major surgery in an earthquake. This is a comic book show. I'm going to gloss over it.
Yeah.
But yes, they made me very anxious. So I'm glad that they kind of at least acknowledged some of that and had Jordan able to be there to save the day. But
Yeah.
surely if there was really an earthquake going on, they would have scrubbed the surgery.
Yeah.
Well, I think the surgery started before the quakes happened, so they were kind of in it, and they're like they couldn't stop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's, I think, the timing of it.
I don't-
So-
all the way around, it made me very nervous. I was like, oh,
Oh,
God,
yeah.
oh, God.
So yeah. So Flash, I don't know what your favorite scene is.
Did I not put it in here?
No.
No, you sure
No.
did not.
It's a Peia scene.
Okay.
Sorry,
All
I'll
right,
put
well,
it in
good.
here. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. So I almost chose this scene as my favorite scene, but then I had to choose the Cushing scene. But I just want to talk about here the scene between Jordan and John, a major follow up to what we saw earlier, and just how Jonathan helps put things into perspective for Jordan of saying, listen, when things are going bad for me, I don't get new powers. I don't get powers. I'm still in the exact same place I was. You're very lucky. And he's helping him take his mind out of things and pull things close. And the acting there between the two of them is just really great. I mean, I'm really appreciating Michael Bishop's portrayal and how he is really feeling like that twin and just making that character his own. And so it was hard not choosing that as my favorite scene, but I just wanted to mention it here because I think the acting was just really good there.
It was a good scene.
It was. Yeah.
So in the end, Lois's surgery is successful, and when she's in recovery, she gets filled in about the events of the day.
All right. So overall, Lois's surgery, we had some debate about that the last few episodes. And while I do think this is going to be more difficult for them on the production side, I think ultimately it was a good choice to have Bruno's cure fail in the end. So the only way Lois can be saved is to actually see her treatment through, because I know they really wanted this journey for her, on the writers and the production side, so that they could honor the journey of so many women in this situation. And so while I think it may be more difficult from like a production kind of standpoint for this show, I do think that it makes a whole lot of sense. And I like that ultimately we kind of had this red herring with like Bruno's cure and, is this going to work? And if this works for Peia, is this what's going to happen for Lois? You know what I mean? So I do like that ultimately at the end of the day, what's going to save her is going to be her actual treatment. And then she'll have gone through this whole journey, which was, the point. That was what they wanted to do. So,
well, it's realistic and it's believable and it's acceptable
Mhm.
and something we can relate to. If it was magic cure from Bizarro from another Earth and all that, it would have been the same reaction we had to Felicity having her back fixed from a magical computer chip.
yeah.
So they kept this as realistic and grounded as they could, which we should have expected from the show because that's the type of writing the show has. So it was really good. But I started thinking, because we were discussing last week about the surgery, like, wow, are they going to actually go through it? Does that mean Lois loses both of her breasts from this surgery, and we were wondering how they're going to pull that off. They can't go through with it. But the way they described the surgery here, I don't think she necessarily did. It sounded like they had to go in from the side, pull out all the stuff, all the cancerous material, and they would still leave part of her there. It's not like they're going to cut them right off, like what we were thinking. It sounded like they could go in from the side, get all the crap out of there, and they just won't be as prominent as they used to be. So I mean, she'll be scarred. I don't know. That's just kind of what I picked up on, and I thought that seemed like, okay, they can maybe get around her. Now she can wear, the actress can wear much tighter bras or sports bras to make herself look not as pronounced.
I think the way that I understood it is they were putting in markers and other stuff so that they could test after it was removed to see if the treatments were effective on the tumors there. That's kind of what I understood.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things happened, and I looked something up, which I probably shouldn't have. But anyways, here we are. So, okay. First thing in that scene that you're referring to. So yeah, what they were doing is they did have to put something into her lymph nodes. It's a marker. It's because they needed to know exactly where it is in the surgery, because they have to be able to take out like a specific one to be able to like test for it. So that's kind of like what like the whole like marker thing was about.
Okay.
But yeah, no, a mastectomy is, I mean, they take everything. It's all gone. There's nothing left there. So it's, I mean, you kind of have to, because you don't know it. I mean, the cancer is all, and especially with like inflammatory breast cancer, it's also on the skin. So you can't leave anything behind.
Well, I think their way around that is she's just going to wear a real tight sports bra to flatten things out, because it's kind of similar to male ballerinas or male ballet dancers, or guys that wear really tight cosplay outfits. Even the superhero outfits, a lot of the men they have to wear really tight fitting underwear that kind of squishes things down so you don't have things showing. And that, so I think there probably is ways around it where they don't have to rely on CGI too much. They can, maybe just a little bit looser shirts and things like that. But,
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think yeah, probably like looser fitting clothing, and there's definitely like ways around it. But yeah, just, I mean, that is absolutely what has to happen, unfortunately. It's all gone.
Well, I know, like you guys see my picture of me in my Flash costume. The first year I wore that thing, everybody was like, "Whoa, showing everything there, Martin." I'm like, okay, I better fix that. So I went and bought a pair of these fancy, they're ballet underwear is what they're called. And it is very tight. It's not very comfortable, but it definitely makes things disappear. It's kind of funny. When you look at yourself and go, whoop, yep, nothing's there now. But
yeah. So closing out the Kent section, we get a beautiful bedroom scene between Clark and Lois after she comes home, and he's settling her in, and she's actually in their bed, not the downstairs bed, and it was just a sweet conversation, and just I just love the two of them as a couple. It's just great. So
I thought one of you was going to pick that as your favorite scene, for sure.
Lots of choices in this episode. So
there were a lot. Yeah, there were lots of choices, for sure. But no, it was a great conversation. I always love their conversations. So it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Good talk, for sure. They're such a sweet couple. You love getting wrapped up in their realistic romance.
Yeah. Great.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Irons and Mannheim families. And Peia is just going all out, continuing to distract Superman, the police, the DOD, everybody from their location, trying to hide everything as they've got a subway car that's going to take them to the airport. They're going to go to this basically island paradise, and everything appears great, but then we start to see the cracks where we see the cure is not working. So
Yes, this was one of the twists that I didn't expect, although it does kind of answer the question of like, what was the family going to do? Because that was my question all along. It's like, okay, they've implicated their son, they're on the run because they're all now criminals or villains in some way, shape, or form. And so it answered that question. It's like, okay, the Matteo chose his family, that like it was very clear that they were going to have to run, that they were going to have to leave everything behind. And so I thought that made a lot of sense, and I was kind of happy about that until they start to realize that Pia is just a little bit unstable, or completely unstable in her condition, that is.
yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the change either, that the cure wasn't going to work. Definitely not this soon, because the cure
Yeah.
basically lasted long enough for her, or it wasn't even a cure. It stabilized her long enough to get her home. But this is where I want to dive in a little bit here, because was it the cure not working, or was it her feeling like she's at 100% power and then really overexerting herself to confuse the DOD and confuse Superman? Did she do it? Did she overdo it? And that caused her to get that overcame the cure. It overcame everything, and it caused her type of cancer to come back in full force. I'm just wondering, because she was putting out a lot of energy to confuse the world, basically. And that, I think that may have triggered everything to come back, and the cure just wasn't enough. Because even when they gave her the second injection, she's like, "Oh, I feel better," and it lasted for seconds. So I think her overdoing it is what kind of set everything off.
I think basically the cure acted as like adrenaline to her system. Like it revived her, it gave her enough to push through, and it didn't really get rid of the cancer, but it gave her enough strength to make her think so. And then, like you said, she's using her powers at full force, and it's just burning through it. And it's the type of thing where, it's each dose is going to be less effective. So I think I don't think she was really cured. I think she was just powered up enough for her to think she was. And then,
Because we've seen a couple times now when Superman looks at her with his X-ray vision, he can see where everything is spreading. I really, because we've been questioning what is causing this, and we've discussed it before. I think it is her using her abilities, the type of powers that she has. It's all with her voice. It's all with her lungs and her breath, and that's where all the cancer or whatever everything was in her was all in her lungs, and everything that gives her that power. And I think her using her powers so much is what caused that. I think if she learned to take a break and not use them daily, then maybe this may not have grown so fast, But definitely, I believe that her powers, or the use of her powers, caused this illness in her.
Yeah. And I'm very curious we haven't found out yet how she got her powers.
No.
And
we might not.
We might not, but I'm wondering if we will see something. We will see, like we've speculated, that Lex had something to do with it, and because of that, that's why it's not very stable, because it was experimental. But I don't know if we'll get to see that or not, and maybe some flashbacks or not. So I just don't know. I'd like to know, because we care about the character, and it would be interesting to see how she got her powers. So and also, is any of that passed on to Matteo? Like,
is it hereditary? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's genetic, yeah.
because like she had her powers before Matteo was born. So,
Yeah.
you wonder if there's something in there that he may have some types of abilities that may be different than his mom, or we just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know. On a side note, I tweeted the actress Daya from our Legends account just to express how much we love her and how amazing her performance was, and then to let her know that old Flasher has a crush on her.
Oh dear.
Not that she saw it. Because she made a post about she posted about something about the show, and so there's like hundreds of people responding to that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So on the top side of the Mannheim building, we see Nat coming in full armor, and she's really hoping to have this conversation with Matteo, and John Henry follows her almost immediately because he's tracked her. And Flash was kind of echoing what John Henry was trying to when he was talking about her earlier.
Pretty much. He said almost everything what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is she leaves her AI Hetty to alert her if Matteo shows up.
That was crazy
So
and risky and
yeah.
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, but crazy.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this the first time
So
he saw her in her suit when she shows up? Has
I think
Matteo
so.
seen that side of her?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the first
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So down below, Peia breaks down and Bruno gives her another shot of the cure. And like we said, it's not working, and she literally atomizes one of Bruno's thugs. Like he just dissolves into mist. Like she just blows him away.
There was some splatter on the walls behind, but yeah, like because he was running to get something or do something, and she said no and just reached out for him. Gone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that
And
was
she felt awful about it.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it set off kind of like a chain reaction. I mean, Mateo kind of got to witness firsthand like what she's capable of and that sort of stuff too. And I mean, her powers pretty astonishing. So, like you were saying, I wish we'd been given more insight into how she got her powers in the first place and if they caused her cancer. Whether or not we're going to get those answers, and now that she's gone, I don't really know. But that's what I was a bit curious about. I wanted them to take one step further and connect those dots for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could watch a whole season about her and just let's go into some backstory. Let's see her origin. Let's do all of it. Like it'd be cool.
Nice.
So she basically leaves in order to protect Bruno. I mean, because she can't control it. She's struggling to let go, but doesn't want to because she loves them both, and so she's making her way out of the tunnels. And we'll kind of get back to her in a bit. But that's when Bruno goes after Matteo, and this is where you kind of get the scene of Nat coming in, John Henry coming in, and this dynamic between the four of them.
Yeah. Again, a tense situation, but this kind of brings back it. I'm not going to say I was completely correct, but it kept coming around. Like these two families needed to help each other, but they didn't want to. And certain things would come and they had to help each other. Like the situation would force them to help each other. And finally it came around again. And Bruno's just like, my wife is dying. Superman, can you help her? Like he's just, it was, and ours, I guess there's three families here, but they all they all seem to come to this realization. They all got to the same end of the road perspective here that everything else has got to be put aside. We have to try to help Peia, because we see John Henry and Natalie relate to exactly what's going on, because they had the exact same thing happen with their version of Lois. And I don't know, it was gut wrenching and heart pounding, but it was also very powerful, very emotional, and very touching in a weird way, that these three families all came to the same point of realization at the same time. Nothing matters right now. We need to help Peia. It was cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's she's out of control, and I think it's very interesting that several shots are centered around this dual skyscraper that looks like an M. So it
Right.
makes me think, is that a Mannheim property, and in the midst of everything, it's crumbling down because of
I
her.
think that's what it was a visual, yeah. Because there was that one
Yeah.
scene where she's just this little person, and that you could see the buildings way up in front of her, and the M shape.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So she's basically gonna bring Hobbs Bay down if she's not stopped. That's what Sam tells Superman, and so he comes in. He tries to help. He gets blown all the way back to the Mannheim Tower, and then goes back in. And this is the scene where he basically talks her into letting go and flies her out of range as she passes. And it was just an amazingly powerful scene.
which is what my favorite scene is, but you can talk about it here, Harley.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to talk about Daya's acting as Pia, because I just thought she's been so phenomenal. She really just embodied this character and really brought her to life. So I absolutely just love the portrayal. I'm sad to see the character go. I don't think there was any way she could have survived, not the way they had written this in. Either way, we were going to lose her. She was either going to be written off to live her life on an island, or, she was
Yeah.
going to die, one of the two. So,
Mhm.
but I thought she did such a great job with the character. It was so good.
She did. And from what I've been seeing on her social media, and the people responding, like, everybody loves her. The production loves her. The producers, everybody is just like, wow, you brought something special to this show that we haven't had yet. And that's why she's saying she's so grateful. She's so thankful to have the chance to dive so deep into this character, and bring the emotion into it that she's been able to. And she's the actress Daya is definitely going to go places after this, because I don't know if she's done anything really, really big yet, but I think this just launched her career
Mhm.
I certainly hope so.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. She's amazing. Really, really was.
And it was good that John Henry and Nat were there to be with Bruno and Matteo as Superman brings her back to them. It was just such a powerful scene, just between everybody there, and just the acting without words in so many ways. It was just powerful. It was just so powerful.
Oh yeah. No, these scenes were heartbreaking. Phenomenal acting from these guys. Like, you really, really felt their emotion. So they did just an amazing job. It was hard to watch.
Mm.
And again, I remind you, all for a villain.
I know. It's great. So well done. But you don't even really see her like that at the end. That's the
You
crazy
don't.
thing.
You
Yeah.
don't. That's
Yeah.
that's how good the writing and her performance was, that you forget she's a villain in this moment, and you just want to save her. And
Yeah.
that's
Well,
why it hurt. It was a gut punch from Superman, how much that hurt to watch her not
yeah.
survive.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're going to hear it all again, so be prepared. We're going to hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, closing it out at the DOD, Bruno agrees to tell everything and admit to his crimes as long as Matteo is basically given a clean slate. And, Sam's in charge there, but it is John Henry that he's looking to. And John Henry is the one that promises to look after Matteo. And he really has Bruno's respect. So this is Harley's favorite scene. So
It is my favorite scene. I just loved the transition or the change on the I know what kind of man you are. It just was such a great delivery, and we'll get to hear it in a few minutes here.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like it's part of why they hated each other so much, because they respected each other so much, and they truly are very much the same in how they want to protect their family, and nothing will stop them from doing so. And in the end, Bruno acknowledges that, like, if anybody's going to take care of my son while I'm incarcerated and my wife is gone, it's got to be this guy, because he will give him the same values that I was trying to instill.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about, because we didn't really address it here or much, but the differences between this John Henry and this world's John Henry that was in league with Bruno.
Right.
And to know that Bruno has seen both people and know who both are, and just it would be interesting to hear about the differences that
Mhm.
Bruno sees the differences and knows what type of man he is, but like to know, like to get into the depth of like some of those were because of John Henry's marriage to Lois in that world and having a kid, which he didn't in this world. And so I don't know if we'll ever get into the compare and contrast, but it's just interesting to think that Bruno has seen both versions of John Henry and knows what to respect and see how he respects this version. So
Yeah. I got a question though for you guys. Do you think this is the end of Bruno? Will he have a recurring guest role? Because he is just going to be in the DOD prison. So what do you think? Is he going to be around? Is Lex going to want to come after him? What do you think? Is this the end of Bruno, or will he still be around a bit?
I think there's potential. I don't know if we have like a concrete storyline. I mean, I could maybe see if we get a season 4 where maybe Matteo gets to come and visit him, and we get to kind of like witness that or something, like some sort of check in that way.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's always possible. I mean, it would be cool to kind of maybe hear whatever dirt he's going to trade to Lane, you know what I mean, to Sam. I would just be kind of curious about all of that, but I don't know how much of that would be essential to a story or not.
yeah, and as far as Lex goes, I think Lex would want to exact some type of revenge, but
True.
the issue is the Lex that we know from other things is more about I can't say it, but subterfuge or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, that's it.
He's not going to do something overt. Like he's not going to go storm the DOD and go after Bruno. But I can see him getting him some way. But I don't think it's going to be a direct attack. But, whether they write that in season 4, I don't know. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just think because if Matteo's going to become a regular character now under John Henry's care, I can't see them just forgetting about his dad.
Yeah.
I mean, it might just be in the dialogue. Oh, I'm going to go visit my dad today. Maybe we'll never see the actor again, but it's still got to be part of the story.
Yeah. I'm curious to see. Is Bruno is part of the agreement between Bruno and John Henry? Is Matteo going to live under the ironed roof? I know that would be kind of awkward. But yeah. So I is he going to be with the Kents? Who knows?
Is he going to move? Yeah. Then who's he going to move in with? The Kent? Like, I mean, I have questions. I have lots of questions. Does he not have any extended family? no
Yeah.
aunts or uncles. Like, what is
Yeah.
happening here?
Yeah. So, I don't know.
We will find out, probably.
All right. Well, in an interesting turn in Bruno's lab, we see Bizarro somehow has
Buddy.
been brought back to life. And this was, we speculated about like the experiments are going to bring him back or what, but we don't know if it was like those experiments combined with whatever was going on with Peia, or we don't know why, but he's back in some form.
He's back. And at the moment, I don't even really care the why because
Yeah.
I love the Bizarro musical cue.
Oh, yeah.
That distorted heavy metal sound to the music is so good. It just
The
makes
backwards.
me excited. Yes. Every time I hear it, I'm like, huh.
I just like, it's cool to see him back again, and Tyler getting to play that part, but he was screaming. Like, was he screaming in pain? Was he screaming because he's confused, or like what's going on?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of get that shot of him looking at his hand.
Yeah.
So like, his eyes are glowing blue, and then he looks at his hand.
So he's getting like his power back or his energy back or something.
Yeah.
But what is the story going to be for Bizarro? Like, is he going to be a good guy? Is he going to be a bad guy? Is he going to exact revenge? Is he going to be confused? Does he know everything? Does he remember everything? What are they going to do with Bizarro?
Yeah, and like he was getting power on his Earth from the red sun, and here he is on a normal sun universe, and like was his body chemistry changed somehow because of the experiments? Lots of questions. Yeah.
Well, because it seems like when Peia exploded, that last thing is what woke him up or something. Because it sent a massive energy wave through the city, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something did it because he's back.
Tyler just needed an exercise paycheck, I guess. Eh?
I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, good discussion as always, guys. We are going to pause right now for a possible ad break for our regular podcast listeners. The video, you won't get it, but here we are at our ad break. And everybody can say hi to Cyber in the video. Hey, buddy. He's back. I thought you guys were talking about him. Cyber's back.
Shape out an eagle!
All right. Favorite scene time, favorite part of the episode time, favorite part of the podcast time for a lot of people. Where are we going to start?
We're going to start with the diner intervention. So let's take a listen.
Look, this is going to be tough, but we need to have a talk as a family.
Your father and I are worried about you.
Yeah, I'm worried about me too.
Hey, look, I know what it's like to make a mistake that feels like the end of the world.
He's not just talking about the affair.
My problems started back when I was your age. When I started drinking.
Dad, I'm not an alcoholic.
No, I know. That's not what this is about, okay? It's about the sadness. For a while there, my life felt like just one bad decision after another. I lost your abuelita when I was young, and I couldn't keep up with school. About the only time I felt like I wasn't a screw up is when I was drinking, ironically. And then I made the worst decision of all. And it cost me dearly. And that's when I knew I hit rock bottom. I knew I had to make a change.
The hardest part is I don't even know if I'm at rock bottom. It's just really scary to think about things getting even worse.
Well, look, the only one who gets to decide where you are, Mika, is you. Truth be told, sometimes I still feel like I'm falling. But I look at the ground beneath my feet, and I know why I'm here on this earth. To help my town. To be your dad. And that gets me through. Every single time.
Yeah, but I don't know what I want to do.
Well, look, for starters, you can just put down whatever it is you don't need, your guilt, your fears. Replace all that with something that gives you purpose. Something gives you a sense of responsibility. Something like,
Seriously?
baby steps.
Mom.
It's a long journey, Nita. But you gotta start somewhere.
My favorite part of his advice is just put down all the crap that you don't need. Put down the anger, put down the sadness, put down the, I love that. Just get rid of the stuff you don't need. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
It's a great scene.
Yeah. I mean, again, Eric and Indy just knock it out of the park here between the two of them, and great acting. Great acting. We talked a bunch about it earlier, but it's just really great to see the family working together to help each other, and I just appreciate the acting here a whole lot. So,
and like I said, it gives Kyle substance. He's not just an idiot. There's a lot of depth to this character.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, definitely.
All right, Harley.
All right. Well, I chose the scene, the final scene with Bruno and John Henry, almost the very end of the episode, and I called it "I Knew the Kind of Man You Are."
I think it's time we talk about next steps for you and your son. I'll tell you everything. In exchange for Matteo's charges being dropped.
Dad, what are you doing?
I'm taking responsibility for my actions, so you can live the life you deserve. Promise me my son will be looked after.
You have my word.
And I know exactly what kind of man you are. So, do we have a deal?
As much as I love Peia, we can't forget Chad Coleman. He delivered a powerhouse performance as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, all three of these actors. I mean, I didn't look up the actor playing Matteo, but I mean, he's
Spencer
doing.
Moore.
Thank you. Yeah, he's doing an amazing job too. I mean, I absolutely adored the three of them this episode. They were amazing. And so I mean, there are so many good scenes, but I don't know. I've chosen a lot of Bruno scenes over the course of this season. I've realized, and I think I just really love Chad Coleman's delivery and just like the subtleties he brings, literally just in like the way he speaks. Like you don't even have to see what he's doing to appreciate the performance and hear the nuance of the performance. And I think I've really loved all of his stuff, and I particularly like this one, especially because he's kind of come full circle. Bruno Mannheim, Bruno is taking responsibility for his actions because his actions are what put his son in danger in the first place, or in danger. It caused him to commit a crime in the first place. And so I was happy to see him look for immunity for his son, to allow him to have the life that he deserved, because they never wanted him to be a part of it. They've made that very clear. And so that's why I liked it.
Yeah, and I like for Bruno's character, because when we first found out that he was going to be the villain this season, and everyone's talking about, it's Mannheim and Intergang. And we were expecting all this weapons stuff and, going after Superman. And I was always questioning, how is a bunch of guys with guns going to be anything for Superman? And I'm glad that the story kind of veered away from that. I think this family story kind of took over in the writers department. They kind of realized what they had here, and they more focused on Bruno and Peia and Matteo and the family and the struggle and how they're trying to work through this stuff that's going on, instead of being all about running Intergang, because Intergang kind of just fell by the wayside. It never became part of the story at all.
No, which I think I agree with you. I think that was smart. I think it was all about the mystery and the intrigue of Bruno, the fact that they couldn't pin it on him. And then they had the twist that he's married to Peia, who they never really officially name throughout the series. But, that was the comic nod. And so I liked how they tied it all together and kind of gave it their own twist.
Sound Assassin. That's what she was called.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Sound Assassin, we're going to end it with my favorite scenes. Not really. I kind of hate these scenes. It's Peia's last moments with Superman out on the street. There is a lot of sound effects and a lot of explosions and stuff going on. There's not a lot of dialogue, so I did try to lower the volume on it all. But if you listen closely, you can hear them talking to each other, and you can even pick up on her whispering in her ear. It's hard to hear when she tells Clark what she wants to tell him as her final words. And if you listen really strong, you can actually hear her say, "Tell them I love them," and then the rest you can't hear. But anyway, it's this whole montage. I also liked it because of the music that's the undertones while the Sound Assassin effects are happening. There's this really powerful and sad music happening because it's like ramping up to the end. This is the end of somebody, and it's like I said, it's like Superman punching you in the gut. So here it is.
It hurts! It hurts so much!
Just concentrate on my voice!
Peia and Bruno, I can't leave them. Not like this.
It's okay, Peia! It's okay! They wouldn't want you to suffer! It's okay to let go!
She wanted me to tell you. She'll love you both. Forever and always.
Good thing I put up a screensaver thingy on our YouTube channel, otherwise people would be seeing me tearing up. That listening to Matteo and Bruno break down, God, that gets to me.
Mhm. It's a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
I'm crying more over the loss of a villain than over some of our other characters we've lost in this CW universe. It's so funny. Yeah.
Oh.
Peia was something else. That was tough. That was for Superman to carry her final words and bring like you said earlier, to bring the way he brings the body back, and it's just silent, and all you hear is the wind flapping through his cape, and yeah, man, and just listening to how much pain she is in, like she's fighting so hard to stay alive, to not harm, because she knows the damage she's causing, and she doesn't want to hurt anybody, especially her family, and that's what's causing her the pain. She's trying so hard to contain it, and it hurts so much. And that's when Superman's like, it's okay to let go. You don't have to fight anymore. And man,
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely a powerful episode. All right, let's remind people how they can support the show if they would like to do that, because we would love it if they did. Totally appreciate it.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Don't keep it to yourself now. Come on, baby, talk to us. It's feedback. Yeah.
All right, you two, we got 2 long emails tonight. Who wants to read Comic Geek Kev, and who wants to read Ken from Chicago?
It doesn't matter. Jeff, you want to go first or second?
Yeah, I'll go first. So.
Okay.
All right. Comic Geek Kev says, "Hey, Legends. Seems like the cure was a real boost for Peia. That's pretty impressive level of power. So, of course, the cure isn't all it's cracked up to be. I thought she might burn herself out. But, well, more on that later. Pretty rugged when she splattered the no-name henchman #1 against the subway car. Congratulations, Matteo. That one is partially on you." Ooh. Kyle seemed a little too enthused about Clark being Superman. Does he know about Jordan as well? We didn't hear that, so we don't know. Don't know. Or is Clark taking the heat for the iced fires? And of course, Kyle is upset with Chrissy for lying. Gee, who saw that coming? Now also to be mad, is he going to be mad at Lana and Sarah too? Probably. Turns out apparently so, at least at Lana. Anyway, nice diner scene with the family. Kyle admitting to his past troubles to try and help Sarah understand that she's not alone and give her actual solid advice. Well done. I'm not sure a job was what she needs, but I guess we'll find out.
I think a purpose is good.
Yep,
me too. Distraction, purpose.
Yeah.
Sense of importance. Yeah.
The return of Bazoombas. Love it. And the logo on the bag was hilarious. The dinner was a great idea, but Clark calling it her last meal before surgery was kind of weird. I totally agree with you on that. That was poor choice on wording, I think.
Didn't some of them react to it too? Kind of like, Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, last meal has not a good connotation.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But it was nice to see them all together, and I guess the Lana/John Henry pairing at this point is kind of inevitable. Sigh. But I get it. You can only have so many characters in the show and still give them story. I mean, look at Lacey. Shipped off to another city and only seen sporadically.
I don't know.
Lacey.
Who's Lacey?
Do they mean
Candace?
Candace? Yeah. Maybe he means Candace. Or maybe that's Lacey was his first girlfriend.
That was Liza.
Okay.
Eliza? Eliza.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have no
All right.
idea.
Moving back along. But I also think it would be nice to just let Lana and John Henry have a good friendship. Yes, she has Clark, but that seems to have been some sort of forgotten. I'd love to see them put more effort into exploring that long friendship. When Lois was diagnosed, it would have been nice to see Clark go to his lifelong friend and show some real vulnerability, trusting that she, out of all people, would be there for him emotionally. Oh well.
Yeah.
I'm over the Jordan-Sarah drama. Maybe Jordan just needs to find another girlfriend and forget about her. And I'm really back and forth on Sarah at this point. And I don't know if the writers are doing it on purpose. If so, bravo. Or if it's just me. But she goes from being kind of snotty to very sweet to vulnerable. And of course, Lana is concerned after Sarah's previous depressive episodes and resulting suicide attempt. But I hope that's not where they're heading.
No, I think they interjected soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were honoring that history, which
Yeah.
I appreciate.
Yeah.
The scene of John Henry and Nat at Bruno's was spot on. She's concerned about Matteo when he is the reason the city is in turmoil. As far as I'm concerned, he's almost as bad as his parents. Clever of her to leave her super Alexa behind so she would know when Matteo was back. But that was bound to lead to a John Henry Bruno conflict. Nice little hammer scene. Yeah.
Yeah, the hammer came in first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
taking out all the thugs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool scene between the brothers when Jordan's X-ray vision comes in. Clark recognized it, but stood back and let Jonathan take over. At least I'm choosing it to view it that way.
No, that's
The
what
other
happened.
the other option is Clark is too overwhelmed by what is happening with Lois to deal with it. Frankly, either way is fine as long as it ends up being the scene we ended up with. Sort of reminiscent of the Martha and Clark scene in Man of Steel in the custodian's closet when Clark's super hearing suddenly came on. Yeah, that was a great scene in that movie. It does tie back to that. That's great. What Cindy stands in for Metropolis here? I guess it could be CGI, but that looked good from Bruno's balcony. Do we know where it's filming in Canada?
Isn't this Vancouver as well? I don't know if that was Vancouver. It could have been a CGI city line for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd have to
I
look
don't
at that
know
again.
either. I do know that they film in Vancouver, but I don't know if that was Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at it again.
Yeah.
And see.
The final Peia scenes when Superman took her into the sky and her power released all at once. That was very cool. And I felt for Bruno and Matteo for about 3.2 seconds. Then remembered what they were responsible for. Did John Henry give Mannheim a slight nod? like, yeah, we're good. Because hell no. But it seems like now he'll admit to what happened with Luthor, leading Lex to be released, bringing into the next season, which I know we still don't know is happening. I know. We all want it.
Yeah.
Yep. Kyle was right to apologize to Chrissy, and it looks like they've moved beyond just hookups. I guess we're stuck with Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Kyracy.
Kyrissi or
Or Kryl.
Kryl? I don't know.
Both awful.
Yeah, I don't know. Can we use last names?
Yeah.
Cushing and I don't know.
Popo, yeah. Kushpo? I don't know.
I got nothing
Yeah,
over here.
I don't know.
They all sound bad when I put
Yeah.
them together.
Time to just accept it and move on.
I said that weeks ago, guys.
Yeah. Okay, I'll admit it. I know for sure I'm not alone. I'm shocked they went through with Lois's surgery. Don't get me wrong, I think it's good. There was no sudden save, some miracle cure, or last-minute magical or scientific intervention. So all my speculation was for nothing. Just one more thing that makes this show better than pretty much anything out there. What other show would have this storyline for the main character and have it turn out this way?
Yeah, exactly.
None. At least none that I can think of.
Yep.
And finally, Bizarro is actually back. But what was up with his skin? Something to do with what was done to him while creating the quote-unquote cure? Regardless, I'm psyched to see him up and around. And I guess it is possible they just held off on the cufflink shot last episode to make it clear that's how Mannheim delivered the cure. Or is it possible that they can use that to create something to help stop Bizarro, since it is in some way derived from him? There's got to be some reason they made a point of showing it like that, right? Right?
Let's remember, though, when Bizarro died, he had turned to the good side. He was fighting with the good guys against that super soldier. The super soldier is the one who broke his neck.
Yeah.
So Bizarro might not be bad here.
We just
We'll
don't
find
know.
out.
Yeah, we don't know. I'm giving this 9.5 out of 10 just darn good shows. It's unbelievable to me that this show still hasn't been picked up.
I know.
I know.
Until next time.
Yep. It is really unbelievable. I don't understand any of the network execs that are looking at this and not seeing how good of a show they have here.
I know.
I think they probably only look at the numbers and look at 660,000 viewers. We need 10 million viewers like our network, like the other shows.
I think we're just in a perfect storm of the switch over with the CW, the writer's strike, the changeover from the merger with Discovery and Warner and HBO. I think we're just in a perfect storm there, and I think because of what the show is why they have not outright canceled it when they canceled other stuff on the CW. But I think something's got to push them one way or the other. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Ugh, it's so good though. If they would just watch it.
Yes.
I mean, imagine it. What if the show was on one of the big networks, ABC or CBS? What do you think the viewership would be? Like,
no, I really don't know.
Yeah, because I don't.
don't think shows like this do well on the big networks, which is why they're on the small ones.
Yeah, I mean, let's be
I mean,
honest.
Supergirl started there.
Yeah,
and
it
moved
started on CBS, yes, and then moved, and then but I mean, Heroes, it had a good start, and then
Writer's
it
strike
just
killed it, ironically.
yeah, and just went downhill. I'm just trying to think of superhero shows on prime time. You got to go back to Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman.
To be fair, this could rival that.
Yeah,
it does rival that.
Yeah.
Lois and Clark was a great show, and it did really well. It went for 4 seasons, and
but
but
it's true.
Here's my concern: CW is pretty accessible by a lot of people. It's included in a lot of different cable packages. But if this show gets moved to Max, which is a prescription or subscription only based streaming service, we're going to lose viewers because not everybody's going to pay for yet another streaming service, and the numbers might even go down more. So I'm concerned about it going to Max.
But here's
streaming's
the
a
thing.
different animal.
But here's the thing too: the way that CW is going with bundling in with stuff is going to be different than what it was before. I read an article about this. They're not there's possibilities that carriers could drop the CW because they're not doing a approach like they did before with some other stuff to say, okay, with CBS or with some other stuff, they're doing a different way of letting local markets and different things buy into the CW as far as carrying it. So you could see it getting dropped from carriers, cable networks and stuff like YouTube TV, which is what I watch it through, and other stuff like that. So it's just an up in the air time. So it may be accessible now, but it might not be as accessible. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's a mess.
Yep. Yep.
Long story short, it's a mess.
Yep.
All right. Shall we move on to Ken?
Yep.
All right. Hi, Legends. Ken from Chicago here. I rate this week's Superman and Lois 4 out of 5 heart-to-heart talks. The good. Much better drama, people using their words, showing guys can be comforting and soothing since the stereotype is comforting is women's work. Good point. Jonathan with Jordan, Kyle with Sarah, John with Bruno, Clark with Peia, all got in the comforting or calming down gigs. Hammer time rocks. More hammer time, please. Okay, Superman. Just Clark. Nice. All right. Nice. They finally looped in Kyle. I agree with Dad L that Barry revealed he was the Flash at the drop of a hat to everyone and anyone. But Kyle is the last person in town and on the show who should know. He should have been told when Sarah and Lana found out. Yeah. Nice to see they didn't drag out the fight between Kyle and Chrissy. Oh, okay. Nice to call back to Sarah's season 1 issues through her seriously. Though her seriously was perfect as a reply to Kyle's suggestion. Yes, it was. Well, they did it. No miraculous cure for Lois. No advanced alien technologies, just a regular double mastectomy. If Superman and Lois gets renewed, I can see the show continuing to deal with this from post-surgery pain and scars, dresses, tops, shopping for mastectomy bras with fill-ins, probably online or maybe in Metropolis, regaining her appetite, etc. Standing ovation for the show going care.
Yeah.
But I have issues.
No.
That's bad.
We're stopping reading right now.
Just kidding.
We don't censor. You know that. I get wanting to show Lois having agency and not just be a damsel in distress during her surgery. For her choosing to do the surgery during a major emergency not only endangers herself, but her doctors who can't shelter during the shaking. She was being brave, especially since months ago she was dodging even chemo appointments, but she was also being kind of selfish, which again, not often shown a cancer patient being flawed.
Again, just remember the timing. The surgery began before the Peia attacks were hitting in the hospital. So
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. That's good points all the way around. And I have queries. What? Why did Clark reveal a secret to Kyle at Smallville Gazette versus at the Kent Farm or Kyle's place? Why there?
no,
I
no,
get it
no.
was
He revealed it last week at the end of the episode.
technically, but he
Yeah.
provided the explanation at the Gazette.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I because we were wondering if Kyle's going to figure it out, if it's Clark just has powers or is Clark Superman. I think they were insinuating that Kyle figured it out. He's Superman because they went from him super poking him with two fingers to flying off into the clouds to this week when Kyle's like, "You're Superman! Oh my god!" and just being all excited about it. So I think Kyle put two and two together.
Probably. All right. I get it was to shortcut the fight with Chrissy, but story-wise, I could see if Clark was at work at the Gazette and called Kyle in, but this was the day of Lois's surgery. That's a good point.
True.
So Mannheim and Matteo know John and Nat have flying armors, and no one seems worried. So how did Peia get so far away from Bruno and Matteo when she knocked Superman back, he had a ways to fly to get back to her? Maybe she does have travel power, or is it she turned a corner, quote unquote?
Like Flash.
Like Flash. I guess Sophie was in school since the family Diner Talk didn't have her in it, which is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I smell Bazumba. No. That's just wrong. Why would the writers do that to poor Emmanuel to have to deliver this line, or the rest of the cast who have to hear it? That's just wrong on so many levels. Why? And that's how he ends his email.
But Bazumba, it could be knockers, it could be cha-chas. Like, what do you want? I just think it's funny.
I think it's better than Hooters.
Yeah.
Like it's just all the silly names that boys come up with to call ladies boobs. It's just funny that they went with Bazumbas. I think it's hilarious.
I do think it's quite funny. I prefer it, actually.
I mean, we could open up knockoff restaurants or call it knockers or call it whatever. I just think it's funny. Let's end it with a voicemail from Dad L.
Hello, Superfam. It's a somber Dad L here, mourning the loss of Peia. I know Flash probably feels the same way.
Yes.
One of the reasons I thought she was a great villain for Superman is that Superman just couldn't take her out with a punch. Her sonic powers were just too much for him. They were too powerful and too harmful for a being with super hearing. And I also like seeing the effects of how her powers confused his super hearing. That's how he detects when he's needed. And she just totally messed with that in a really amazing way. She was a fantastic villain. Man, I thought the actor that plays Bruno, I thought he really, really did a great job this episode. Just conveying his sense of loss and his grief. So I thought that was powerful acting on his part. And of course, at the end, Bizarro returns. So how is he going to be stopped? Have we seen the last of Bruno, or do you think Bruno's going to team up with Superman in order to defeat Bizarro? Was this where Lex comes in? Can some of Lex's tech be useful? I really thought we were going to see Lex by now, the way they were building it up. But apparently, with the Peia storyline done, are the Mannheims done? I hope not. I hope they can keep on throughout the last two episodes. Another highlight of this episode was Jonathan and Jordan having that brother moment when Jordan was getting his X-ray vision. I don't think we've seen that in a while, where the two had that brotherly bond like they shared this time, where Jonathan was able to calm Jordan down. And also, I think this is kind of a nod to Smallville. In Smallville, Clark would get a new power whenever there was some stress or some, biological thing going on. So I really like that Jordan had a power emerge after he's in that very stressful situation. That's all I got for this episode. I'm going to give it 9 sounds of silence. That L, Father of Krypton.
Oh. Oh, that got me. That was a good one.
Wow. High marks all around from us, from the feedbackers. That's definitely a really good episode, and I'm with you. Don't worry, Dad Al. I'm with you about Peia. Yeah. Good thoughts, guys. Good thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Now the sound of silence is stuck in my head.
Got that song stuck in your head.
So we got a week off, right? So we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Correct.
With their next coverage. All right. So if you guys want to get in feedback like these fine folks in 2 weeks, just listen to this.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Yeah, so if you hadn't had a chance to check out the new YouTube channel, just search up Tomorrow's Legends podcast on YouTube and just see what we're doing video-wise. It's kind of fun. Have you guys checked it out? Because I've been adding like as much graphics and fun stuff as I can throughout the podcast. Have you guys had a look at it yet?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I agree. Yeah. It's
Cool.
fun. It's a different touch if people, want to see our smiling faces.
Yeah. It's because like when you look at other talking heads videos on YouTube, it's just them talking. So I wanted to, we got a moving star field in the background, and we got our logo, and we have graphics, and when your feedbackers are on, I bring your names up on the screen in big white letters so you can see who's talking. And it's just lots of fun little things. I tried to make it stand out a bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. I'm glad you guys are. And I'm starting to forget that we're on video now. I'm just behaving normally now. I'm starting to forget that, oh yeah, we're recording this.
It's okay. I mean, we're recording a podcast. That's kind of, they're getting what they're getting. The raw, uncut version. Behind the scenes, that's the whole lore, right?
That is the whole lore, yeah, exactly. It makes it fun. It's just, and we'll see. I haven't looked to see how many views we've had yet or anything. I'll have to look at the stats and see where it's at, but I'll definitely keep an eye on that and see if things start adding up. I'd be curious. But if you guys want to comment on the YouTube videos, definitely comment, and I'll get the notification. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So if you want to hear Flash and I, we were both on leaving feedback on the latest episode of Dive into DC, where they covered Flashpoint Paradox.
Oh man.
Oh.
And so that excellent movie, good podcast breakdown just came out today, and they're going to be covering the Flash movie next, and I've got my tickets to see that next Friday, so check them out as well.
Oh yeah, it comes out on the day we have off, so that's perfect. I'm gonna buy advance tickets too.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, it's fun. It was fun. We were all really ramping up on Flashpoint Paradox. It is my personal favorite animated movie in the DC universe.
Yeah,
it's so dang good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good podcast. I listened to it too. So check those guys out. That's all I got for this week. So everybody have a nice couple weeks off and a nice weekend. This is The Flash. Signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.